People talk a lot about Black immigrants in the UK. They throw around comments like, we are not like our um, other immigrants who acquire wealth in the UK. We don't help each other out. I'm sure you've heard several of these comments. I watched one of such videos where this person was talking about Black wealth within the UK within the context of home ownership. And I just wanted to add my 2 cents. My name is Landry. Welcome back to my channel where I document my life as a 50-year-old living in London, and I discuss various complexities of what it is that makes us human. When I um, come across these topics, I usually come from the perspective of why is it that we behave the way we behave? Why do we see things the way we see things? So I'd like to discuss this comment or discuss this topic of Black wealth within the UK, within the context of home ownership from that perspective. First of all, I'd like to say that Black people account for 3.3% of the UK population, right? 3.3%. So let's start there. Also, when it comes to home ownership, Black people account for 24% of home ownership within the UK. So those are just numbers, so we have the right perspective. From those numbers, you can tell that we account for a very small percentage of the UK population. So when we are comparing immigrants and saying Black immigrants aren't as successful as other immigrants, let's have that at the back of our minds, right? But for the purpose of this video, I wanted to talk about why these things might be so. Why a large percentage of us isn't probably investing in home ownership. The first thing is black tax. I'm sure you've heard this. The money that we earn as immigrants, or either as first generation, second generation, or third generation immigrants, we tend to see this money as not our personal money. Maybe not so as far as the younger generation is concerned, but I would say for my generation and my parents' generation, and probably the ones before them, and probably a couple of generations below my generation, when we earn our money, we there's a percentage that is expected. You see it as a duty to either send money back home to whether Zimbabwe, Nigeria, Ghana, wherever it is that your parents live or your cousins live or your heritage is from. You tend to send something home. There's a number out there about the millions of dollars that is sent back to the diaspora from either the UK, from America, and from other Western countries. So that's to tell you how important it is to a lot of people to always send something back. There are people who've been sending money back for the past 20, 30 years. And that eats into your investment pot. If you feel obligated, if you feel like it's your duty as a person to take care of everyone else, the money that you're earning isn't yours. So you've got your own responsibilities in your respective countries. In this case, in the UK, you've got to pay your rent, your mortgage, you've got to buy fuel, feed, council tax, road tax. What other taxes are there? Like if you bring transportation, transportation within the UK is so expensive. When you go to other countries, that's when you realize how expensive it is to travel and to commute in London, or not just London, within the UK. So transportation, yeah, and then by the time you deduct all of that, and then you set aside some money to send back to maybe a parent, a cousin, a sibling, the child of a sibling, a child of a cousin, there's nothing left to invest in anything else. So I think the first reason is this black tax that is upon us. Having said that, the younger generation, I feel, because I've been seeing videos around where people are saying, "No, I'm not. I'm only thinking about myself first," which is good. Which is good. I actually support that. Think of yourself first, and but that's a video for another day. The next thing is that when people emigrate from a different country, they usually have to start all over again. Do you know how many people who are medical doctors, who are engineers, who are probably nurses in their respective countries, and they relocate to either the UK or the US or Canada, and they have to start all over again because the degree that you're bringing from wherever country you're coming from isn't accepted in the country that you're coming into, unfortunately. So you've had to Some people come with their kids. Do you know how many doctors are driving taxis? Do you know how many engineers are driving Uber? It takes a while to get settled into the new country. Everyone else has a head start ahead of you. My next observation is to do with nepotism. I heard somewhere that some parents don't believe in nepotism. It's like, I suffered in this country to do X, Y, and Z. Do you know what I did when I got into this country? I was a cleaner, I was this, I was that. So you have to start from the scratch over again. I think that is more like a psychological thing where people feel like, well, I worked hard to survive, so you have to do the same, which is from my previous point, in that you have no leg up. There's no one to help you. It's like you're starting all over again. If you've got a parent who says, there's no nepotism, I'm not giving you the leg up that you need, you have to go and start all over again. Or maybe they're not even in the position to be able to help you because they already, much of their money is already going into this black tax to go and help a cousin or auntie or parent back in Ghana or back in Nigeria. Then there's nothing left for them to be able to help you. A lot of people have those stories where there's no backup plan. There's no backup plan. You know, it is when you're in Nigeria or Ghana, and it's like, oh, if there's no rent, you can go to your landlord and say, oh, can I have an extension for 3 months? Can I have an extension for 4 months? There's none of that here. If you do not pay your rent, you're outside in the streets. So there's a lot of pressure to be able to meet people's daily needs that they don't have enough to spare for the next generation, to be able to give them a leg up, to be able to have them enjoy some form of nepotism. It just doesn't exist. I am hoping that with the younger generation, some of these things start to correct themselves, because they tend to um, see the mistakes of their parents, and I can observe from the way people talk that they want different for themselves, and so they will make different decisions, and invariably they will have more money left to invest in their own future, be able to save, be able to invest in shares and stock, be able to invest in properties. I feel that their story will be a lot easier than the generations prior. My next point is that most immigrants, when they come or when they go into a new country, tend to live within the inner cities, and most inner cities are very expensive. So people tend to go to where they feel comfortable. They tend to move within communities. What that means is that because you're within the inner city radius, everything is more expensive. So you haven't got enough to spare for extra. Everything is more expensive. It's more expensive to buy a property. It's more expensive to travel. It's more expensive to live. It's more expensive to eat. Um, People don't want to. At some point, there was a time that people didn't want to move outside London because you're like, who is there? who is there? Like my people say, talo fellow for you jumbe. Who is there that you know? Who do you know in this outside London that you're going to? I think that's changing a lot, because for me, I love living in London, but then for some other people, it's like, oh, it's too expensive. I'm going to go outside London where my money can stretch further. Finally, because of the stress of having to move to a different country, having to start all over again, having to like pinch every penny, when they finally get some money to spare, they'll rather just spend it on things for themselves, like buy a new shoe, buy a new car, buy a huge 70-inch screen TV for a one-bedroom flat. Have you been to some flats and you're like, this screen is too big for this room? Yes, that. Or buy a BMW while you're renting a space. People want to have fun, and I do not blame them. I do not say this as pointing finger and saying that you don't know how to spend your money. I feel that people should just find joy where they can find it. They want something physical to show for the stress that they've been through. And if that is in buying a Gucci shoe, even though they can't afford to buy a house in London, well, let them have it. So those are the things I'm thinking about. I hope some of these points have been eye-opening for you. If there's anything you think I haven't spoken about when it comes to this topic of black wealth within the UK, within the context of home ownership, or black wealth generally within the UK, please leave in the comments. Please subscribe. Love my video. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.